A new report from the Network Contagion Research Institute showing that 56% of left-leaning respondents believe it would be at least somewhat justified to murder President Trump, and another 50% saying the same for Elon Musk.
And another survey from YouGov showing that 24% of very liberal respondents believe it is always or usually acceptable to be happy about the death of a public figure they oppose.
Joining us now live at the desk, Maslansky Partners President Lee Carter. Welcome, Lee.
Thank you so much.
So I'm really troubled by this. I'm troubled that we've lost our faith in our family and we think it's okay to celebrate the death of other people, want the death of people. What are we doing with this information?
I don't even know how to process that anybody would answer a survey question and say more than 50% of liberals would murder President Trump.
Would people actually fill out a survey?
They fill that out, whether it's online or on the telephone, and they answer it in that way, and they think it's okay. And you know what? The last week, we have seen people celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk on social media. This is the way people feel. And you look at the data here, 25% think it's okay to celebrate the death of someone that they oppose. It's absolutely infuriating.
It's like an assassin culture.
If 5% of people said it would be too many people, but the fact that we're at 24%, it is absolutely staggering. And it shouldn't surprise us based on how we've experienced the last week, but it does. And it should shock us to the core, and it should make us question how we're getting our information, how are we living our lives, how are we living in this world, because this is not okay. The fact that anybody could say that it's okay is absolutely mind-blowing. The social media culture that we're living, the information that we're being fed, the kinds of rhetoric that is out there about both sides absolutely has to stop. We need debate, and we need this to stop.
You know, Lee, you're always looking at research. It seems that part of the problem here is that politics has become too much of people's lives. You know, it dominates their lives too much. Is that sort of a trend you're seeing in any of your research, or what do you make of that?
Well, it's become so much more emotional.
Yeah.
It used to be able to be that you could disagree and then go have a drink. It used to be able to be, I believe the best in you. I believe that you might want something different than I do, but we both want what's best for this nation. What we've decided is that the other side of the argument wants to destroy our nation and by default should be murdered or destroyed. They're an enemy, and it is not that personal. It is not that black and white. People on the left want what's best for America. People on the right want what's best for America. We can disagree on how to get there, but this has to stop on all sides. It's too much. Watching this, seeing this data is staggering. But it's not just this data. There's data out there. I've seen data where 40% of Americans think it's okay and acceptable to perform an act of violence against an executive of a company that you disagree with. And in that, it's the same thing. We've decided that life is a blood sport now. You're either evil or you're good, and that's not the truth.
Lee, on this report, on this poll, it shows very liberal, 24%, liberals 16, conservatives 4, moderates 7. So it isn't just a one side of the aisle thing. It's a problem.
It's not just a one side of the aisle, but I do think the very liberal side is staggering.
Oh, the number's massive.
1 in 4 liberals, very liberal people believe that. Now, the fact that it's 4% of conservatives and 7% of moderates, that's way too many. I think one person who answers that question is way too much. We cannot have a society that is where we are. We are Americans. We're a nation under God together, united under God, and we are divided in a way that should not be acceptable to any person out there. And you know what? The thing is, I've watched so many videos of Charlie Kirk in the last several days, I think as we all have, and he was optimistic no matter what, that the country could be better. And we are better than this, and we have to do this in his honor because we cannot live this divided.
You know, Lee, I know I'm motivated to get out and vote in this midterm election because I don't want people in office who celebrate this, who are part of this, who pour gasoline onto the fire with calling ICE the Gestapo and calling people fascists, right? Do you think other people will be as well, or how does this shape the midterms?
I think this shapes the midterms in a way that is going to be mind-blowing, frankly. I think one of the things that you look at the contours of the electorate, and about 80% of Americans identify as moderates. I imagine that's going to change because I think a lot of people right now are going to say, you know what, I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines. I'm going to take a stand. I'm not going to be silent because most people, even though identify as moderates, lean one way or the other. I think a lot of people right now are going to be shocked out of their silence right now, and they're going to say, you know what, enough is enough. This is not the way that we're going to operate. And I think it's going to be a landslide right now coming out for the right. I really do.
I agree that with both of you, the midterms are going to matter. But today, right now, business leaders, business owners have an opportunity to understand who's working for them and how they think and what they're doing on their social media, what they're saying at the water cooler, and make sure that we change the landscape starting today. I don't know that we have to wait for someone to get elected.
You know, I think that's absolutely right. But the thing that I find staggering is if you remember after the murder of George Floyd, every employer was expected to make a statement and every company had to turn their icon black as a result of that. Not one employer has done that in this instance.
That's a great point. Lee Carter, it's always great to see you, Mark.